Welcome to the CRE Report. Today we're talking about self-storage with a good friend of the show's Kevin Cuff. He's with Cushman Wakefield in their self-storage advisory group, and he's off to a fantastic 2025, which we'll talk more about here in a moment. So Kevin, welcome to the show. It's great to have you with us, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Chris. Good to be here.
Yeah, you have been crushing it so far this year. So as I mentioned, we'll jump into that in a second. But let's just start with why commercial real estate, and then I always love to ask people, like, okay, once you get in the business, like, why self-storage? How'd you end up in self-storage?
Yeah, so I mean, for me, I guess I kind of backed my way into self-storage. So, growing up, I kind of my dad was somewhat involved in the real estate industry. He did title, and so I kind of grew up around a lot of these guys that were brokers or principals in the real estate industry, and always kind of pointed to it and said, that's something I want to do. You always love like the tangible aspect of real estate. And, coming out of college, I knew some of the guys here at Cushman, and they basically pointed me to the research department and said, this is how, everybody at Cushman in San Diego here gets in the door. And so I went down that road. I was basically an intern in the research department for about a year and a half, and eventually joined on with a group that was doing kind of more private client investment sales across San Diego, a lot of office, retail, and I did that for 3 or 4 years. And kind of out of the blue, I was kind of looking for a change, and my manager came up to me and he said, hey, do you know Greg Wells? He's thinking about hiring someone, wants to bring someone on to join him on the self-storage group, and kind of ran with it from there.
So is there something about that asset class that really piqued your interest, that you loved, or was just like, hey, the door open, I might as well just walk through it?
I'd be lying if I said there was something about it that piqued my interest. I think what really interested me out the gate was the fact that, real estate is such a niche, or at least the commercial brokerage world has become very niche focused. And, as I look around, the office and the industry, everyone here who kind of has a niche and focuses on one thing seem to always be at the top of the board when it comes to producer rankings over here. So, I saw it as a really interesting asset class, one, and then two, a way to really kind of form a niche and have something to run with going forward.
It sounds sort of antithetical, but yet I think one of the things I love about self-storage, it's just a boring asset class, right? Like,
yeah. It's certainly not the sexiest asset class, right? Every time we're touring a property, everyone likes to make a comment like, "Oh, it's beautiful," right? You're touring garages basically, but there's an art to it for sure, and there's something sexy about making money, which a lot of people in this asset class seem to have figured out.
I was just you sum that up really, really well. So if we have time too, you're very modest about it, but you also won a national title playing football in college. So maybe at some moment, if you want to maybe weave that into the conversation at some point, I think that would be awesome.
That was, I appreciate it. That was another lifetime ago, it feels like, but yeah, I played at Colorado State Pueblo, which is Division II. It's about an hour and a half south of Denver. And we won the national championship in 2014. So yeah, that was
nice.
a little over 10 years ago, but still a great memory.
Playing linebacker, right?
Yep, I was a inside linebacker.
Yeah, all right. I was just calling them audibles.
Yeah, you're a quarterback. You guys get all the love. That's why you got your own show here.
Yeah, exactly.
You were doing all the right things.
All right, let's talk about your start to 2025. I mean, it's been fantastic. We just put an offer on one of your listings in Palm Springs last week, and then you've got the site here down in Vista, 112,000 net rentable square feet. That was about a month ago. Also about a month ago, you had property in Carson and Carlsbad, 270,000 plus. Then a couple of months ago, another one in Newark up in the Bay Area. I mean, that's just a great way to kick off the year. What do you want? What can you share with us about these assets?
Yeah, I mean, all of them, or I guess 2 out of 3 were kind of a similar story, right? So both Newark and Vista were, kind of late stage lease up assets that, well, Vista in particular, our client had bought in 2021, kind of at the peak of pricing. They bought it right at C of O. And, for them, it was a good performing asset that, they bought it in a fund that, has a life cycle on it. And, after 3 years, they had done a really good job of physically, stabilizing it and starting to kind of step on rate increases. But, as the market has shifted, interest rates had shifted, I think their focus was, let's offload this asset and we can put these funds to better use. So, that I think will be a really good asset for the eventual buyer there. Newark was kind of a similar story that asset delivered in 2021. It was, late stage lease up. Extra Space was managing that one. Really had started to, step on the existing customers and get the rates up. I think they were in the first year of rate increases, they got rates up, I think somewhere close to 50%. So, it was really the new buyers stepping in and following that business plan. And then, Carson and Carlsbad is kind of a different story. That was truly kind of stabilized product in two really good trade areas in Southern California. Those were institutionally owned, and then StoreQuest was the third-party manager. So, it's not a ton of upside on those deals, but definitely, some nominal increases that will happen over the first 3 years.
And I mean, Carson and Carlsbad, a couple of great markets. You'd like to think, especially in California here, fairly safe assets to invest in. So can you give us, whether it's price per square foot, any pricing information you want to share with us about these assets?
Yeah, I mean, Carson and Carlsbad, I'll dive into that one. I think that deal in particular really shows the appetite for, core stabilized self-storage product, especially in Southern California. I think in total we had somewhere close to 15 offers that came in, from high net worths to a lot of, operators with core fund as partners. At the end of the day, that I can't share too much on the, the price of the total portfolio, but, can share that on trailing numbers with adjusted taxes, that was sub 5 cap.
We'll just let that sit for a minute. That's good to know. Thank you.
Pretty strong pricing there on that portfolio.
Yes, I would say so, especially in today's environment. So anything you can share in those regards as far as cap rate or other info as far as Vista or Newark?
Yeah, I mean, both of those kind of were bought in place right around a 4, with a lot of more upside on those deals, kind of stabilizing somewhere in the low to mid 6s.
That sounds pretty fair. So what are you seeing right now in the market overall? I mean, again, obviously you're off to a great start, but are you seeing more things beginning to come on the market? If so, why? Give us your analysis.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're definitely seeing activity pick up here to start the year. I think we definitely saw a wave right at the end of last year of activity, right? I think as interest rates, the Fed started decreasing interest rates a little bit. I think we saw a lot of product come to market right in fourth quarter of last year, which is some of the stuff we're seeing trade, right at the beginning of this year, end of last year. As we start the year here, I think there's still a lot of equity and a lot of buyers, in the market chasing deals. I don't think we've seen quite the flurry of new deals come out to start the year, but I do think we're going to start to see that going forward. Part of that could be, the new regime coming into office and just a little bit of a waiting out period to see, kind of let the dust settle. But certainly, I think, compared to this time last year, a lot more activity in the market.
I mean, yeah, 15 offers on that Carson Carlsbad obviously is nice to see. Who do you see coming in the market? What's coming in the market? How much capital is chasing these assets? Because I talked to somebody recently, like, hey, KKR is coming back in, a lot of big money. Are you seeing the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much, any core fund, any of the big private equity type shops, they're they're all, kind of coming back into the market. The last 3 years, it's been, maybe a few of them have been in while a few have been out. I think as we get moving on into this year, I think pretty much everyone will be back probably by, middle of this year, is our hope. I think we've seen some of the REITs have not been, as aggressive in the last couple of years chasing deals, but I think, we're starting to see them come back into the market, so in all, I think we're looking forward to a pretty good year activity wise with most buyers, being actively in the market at this point.
So what are you seeing in the market, and or what do you think, for example, like KKR is seeing in the market that's bringing that capital back into storage?
I wish I had a good answer for that. I think storage in the last 10 years has been a growing asset class for all of these big funds. I think in the last call it 2 to 3 years, they've all gotten bigger allocations towards self-storage, which I think has helped pricing, obviously. But I think it just kind of goes to the fundamentals of self-storage as you look across other asset types and how it's performed historically, that all of these big groups now want kind of their piece of the pie.
What do you think is the biggest threat right now in the self-storage business?
I mean, the last couple of years, it's been interest rates, right? We're not immune to rising interest rates in this market. I think that's been kind of the biggest hurdle that we've been facing. California has a new bill that I think they're trying to get passed this year that limits rent control. Or it's a rent control bill. So certainly there's always different things that the state or federally that they could try to throw at you. But I think in general, as we've been in this higher interest rate environment for longer, it's just kind of letting the dust settle and figuring out where we are and figuring out a path forward, which it feels like we're through all of that now.
Yeah, I'm curious, what makes you say that? Because it has frozen the housing market, as we all know, which is a big component of self-storage. So I was going to ask you that. Do you feel like we're at and or near the bottom of rental rates in storage, or is there more room to go down?
It's hard to say, honestly, Chris. I mean, you and I talk about it all the time when that's a hard thing with storage right now is it's hard really to pinpoint where rates truly are. We focus mainly in the California markets, and when you're looking at core markets in California, and you have real in-place rate data, rents are still really strong, right? As you go across different markets in the U.S. where there's maybe more supply and less barriers to entry, then rates have struggled a little bit, right? So it's hard to say, is there more room to go down, because sometimes we don't really know where rents truly are, sometimes. So certain pockets definitely have seen new supply come in and rents have gone down. Certain other pockets, especially in California, it seems like rents are still performing really well and going up. So it's hard to really pinpoint it.
I'd like to keep this more focused on California and or at least the West Coast if we can. So are there any particular cities, communities, areas that you're like, this has got me concerned a little bit as far as self-storage? And also on the flip side, are there any communities, cities, areas you're like, hey, these are some really good up and coming areas where if I was, in Abernathy's shoes, I would be looking for some dirt to build there?
Yeah, I mean, I think as you look in California, right, any of the major markets, especially in SoCal, are largely undersupplied, right? So I don't think you can really go wrong with anywhere in California. Certain, especially, I guess let me rephrase that. Can't really go wrong in any of the major markets. The one thing we are a little concerned, or I don't know if concerned is the right word, but something that people are talking about right now is the state of emergency in LA and how that will increase, rates going forward. But LA is such a strong storage market. Like if you can find anywhere to build there, you're bound to do pretty well.
Any secondary or tertiary markets that you like?
I like them all, Chris. I'm a broker at the end of the day, but no, I mean, as I look across California, I mean, San Diego's a really strong market. It's really hard to build down here. Orange County is very tough to get into, very tough to build. It's for guys like you that are looking for dirt and trying to find new markets. That's a good one to target. Inland Empire has seen a ton of growth. I think we'll continue to see a lot of residential growth going forward. That's a strong market. We're working on some stuff up in the Bay Area right now, both East Bay and kind of San Jose. Those are really strong markets. As you get up into the peninsula and San Francisco, obviously that's a area that's really tough to build in. So if you can find anything up there, it's got to be a target on your list. And as you get kind of north of San Francisco, those markets are performing really well too, and also really hard to get stuff entitled up there. So Central California, you've got a couple sites going in Fresno, I know as well. Those are strong markets that historically haven't seen a ton of new product come in. So, could be some value to unlock there as well.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating because clearly we don't want any more people coming into California, but that's the thing. It's really, really difficult to build here. But as you stated a moment ago, if you can get it done, those assets typically turn into be pretty darn good assets because it's such a high barrier to entry. So,
right.
Anything else you want to add or share, man, that I'm not asking you?
No, I think that about covers it on that one.
Yeah, I think I like what you're saying because we look at some of the other states and we're like, hey, you just can't build there. It doesn't make any sense with where construction costs are right now. I guess one thing I would ask you, and I don't know if you've got any expertise in this, but I'll ask it anyways, is just your thoughts on with what happened in the Palisades and Altadena and surrounding areas with the fires. The chatter that I'm hearing is concern about obviously construction costs. And if you're going to be building 2-3 years from now, where are you going to find the subs and things of that nature? So any thoughts, comments on that?
I guess my only thought is that it'll be interesting to see kind of how all that plays out, right? I think the Palisades, there wasn't much storage over there, right? But a lot of obviously that impacts the rest of the county. So obviously a horrible event that happened there. I think for storage reasons, it will be interesting to monitor those markets and how long the state of emergency stays into effect, right? Because I think that limits, how you can operate a property, and there's just more red tape with that. And so I think that's probably the biggest thing on the storage front to pay attention to going forward. And especially as you're an owner and operator, how does all of these, sanctions, I guess, for lack of a better term, affect how I operate my property?
Speaking of a little bit, how concerned are you about, a lot of the moratoriums you see cities putting on storage?
Yeah, I mean, you probably know better than I do, right? Like living in the development world day to day, how hard it is to get things built. I live in San Diego, so I know, firsthand, some of the moratoriums they put in down here, essentially eliminates, probably half the county on where you can build storage, right? So that's part of the art of being a storage developer, is trying to find and unlock these sites kind of underneath the city's nose a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, or you just beat your head against the wall trying to do a rezone or something of that nature. So, Kevin Cup, we appreciate it. I guess anything else you want to add or share, maybe with some of your upcoming potential listings, or we obviously like the Palm Springs site. Anything you want to add there?
No, I mean, I think I appreciate, you having us on. We're excited to, we haven't got to do a deal together yet, but I know we're working on a bunch of stuff and trying to make some things happen. So, I think as we get going into 25 here, it should be a lot more deals for us to work on.
That's music to my ears, my friend. Kevin Cuffs, Cushman Wake. I guess also, how can people get a hold of you if they want to reach out and do some business with you?
Yeah, so happy to chat with anybody if you want more details on the deals that we've sold recently or some of the stuff we're working on. Chris, if you want to, I don't know if you can link my email, but it's kevin.cuff@cushwake.com. So happy to chat with anybody at any time, and here's to a good 2025.
Boy, amen. Kevin Cuff, thank you for the time, my friend. This is the Commercial Real Estate Report.